Okay, so in defining the problem, we need to develop a clear and concise statement, okay, that gives direction and meaningful. Okay, so when we talk about clear and concise problem, it should be specific and measurable. Okay, so the objectives must be specific and measurable. To next is to develop a model. To develop a model, a quantitative analysis model must be realistic and solvable and understandable the different mathematical representation of the situation. Okay? So there are two different types of models that are being used. We have the scale and the schematic model. When we talk about scale models is a physical representation of a model. Okay, while an schematic model, we have what we call a blueprint of a particular model, and then after that we applied it in the real life situation. Okay. So models are generally contain variables that are controllable and uncontrollable. When we talk about controllable variables, these are variables are generally the decision variables. Okay, so for example of a decision variables like sales, okay, demand, okay, what else? Expenses. So these are controllable variables. When we talk about uncontrollable, like weather condition, absence of key personnel. So we don't control them, okay? Because they are being pre-existed in the scenario, okay? And parameters are known quantities that are part of the problem, okay? So parameters are also included as part in the quantitative analysis technique, okay? So in acquiring an input data, okay, so this is the scenario, okay? So we have a garbage in. Garbage in are data, okay? So where do we get data? Data may come from a variety of sources like company reports, okay, company documentations, interviews, or on-site measurement or statistical sampling. Then based from our data, then we are going to process it using different quantitative techniques. And whatever be the result in the process, and that is the output. Okay, so that is the output. In developing a solution, the best solution, we call it the optimal solution, is found by manipulating the model variables until a solution is found that is practical and can be implemented. Okay, so usually, for example, in what you call this one, in transportation problem, okay, or in maximizing and minimizing the cost of production, okay? So there are different variables there, and in minimizing the cost of production, of course, we have also to minimize the different expenses, okay, or the different inputs that are being used in the production, so that we could also be minimize the cost of production. Okay, and in the common techniques that are being used in developing a solution is solving an equations. Okay, usually in mathematics of investment, di ba? We solve equations, okay, in order to find out the particular solution of that particular problem. And we also have trial and error. In trial and error, we make use of the different various approaches and picking the best results. So for example, in forecasting, if we find to determine which forecasting method is effective in that are effective in using a particular problem, and determine the lowest possible error. So we are going to make use all the different forecasting technique and determine which of these techniques gives you the best result, or it will give you the smallest possible error. Okay, percentage of error. And then complete enumeration, okay, using of an algorithm, okay, using an algorithm, a series of repeating steps to reach a solution. A good example of this is in transportation problem. In transportation problem, the process is repetitive in the sense that if the optimal solution does not reach, then we go back to the to the we go back to the first step. Okay, we go back to the first step until such time the optimal solution is being reached. So that's the transportation problem. Okay. In testing the solution, says here both input data and the model should be tested for accuracy before analysis and implementation. So we have to what you call this one, test if this solution is applicable, or if this solution is effective and efficient in solving a particular problem. Okay, the result should be logical, consistent, and represent the real life situation. So meaning to say that the the result of the method that are being used should be uh, give what you call this one, help on that, should good help in solving a particular real life situation or problem. Okay. Okay, next is on the analyzing the results. Okay, determine the implication of the solution. Implement results often requires change in the organization. So meaning to say, when you implement now the results of the method that are being used, so it could also give help on the organization and give impact, okay, on the organization, how this method give significant to the organization. So the impact of actions or changes need to be studied and understood before the implementation. So we have to clarify first, or yes, if this solution is really the need of the organization. Okay, and then we have also here a sensitivity analysis, determines how much the result of the analysis will change if the model or input data changes. So this is just a testing the model. Okay, just testing the model if you are going to change on the different steps, or your in the variables that are being used in the model, and of course there are also changes in the output. Okay, so if there are changes in the input in the method, then there must be also changes in the process and also in the output of the method. Okay, and the last thing to do is the implementation of the results. So implementation incorporates the solution into the company. Implementation can be very difficult. People can resist changes, and many quantitative analysis effort have failed because of good workable solution was not properly implemented. So sometimes if in the implementation, even the method that the method is good, but if there are no what you call this one, if there are no uh, support came from the organization, okay, then we cannot apply the method, okay, that should be used in the organization. So it's really a difficult part in the organization, especially if there are no capital that are available in the organization, there are no inputs, okay, and then so we cannot implement the result, okay, if those uh, variables are not available in the organization, okay. So changes occur over time, so even successful implementation must be monitored to determine if modifications are necessary. So upon in the implementation, okay, if the implementation is not good, as I said while ago, then we have to test again to test the model, okay. So there must be a monitoring to determine if the model is really good or necessary in the organization. But if not, then we go back to the second step, which is testing the solution, testing the model, I should say.